What's going on, everybody? Welcome to not a new episode of your Dungeons & Dragons Real Play, soon to be world famous podcast, Critically Stupid. I am Alexander James. I'm your host. I'm your Dungeon Master, and I've got something a little bit different for you today. I know that you're thinking, wow, Alex, it's been a minute since we had a new episode. We sure would like one. And I'm here to say that sucks. And I would also like to have one, but as you might notice by the mediocre audio, different lighting, and overall disarray behind me, my studio seems to have evaporated. I recently moved across country, put all my stuff into a truck, shot off into the horizon, and now I'm here in a new office with a new setup that I'm still currently configuring. Therefore, we don't have a new episode per se, but I do have a little treat for you guys. If you are one of our original fans, hi, it is so great to see you. Thank you so much for being here again. If you have been engaging with us on social media a little bit and you've been looking at our show, wondering where's a good time to start, where do I jump in, I'm not quite sure what they've got going on. This episode right now, the one we're doing, this is for you. This is our Tale Till Now episode. I've been thinking about doing one of these for a while now. I haven't quite had the time, but now that I've thrown all of my stuff into boxes that you see behind me, now's the perfect time. So what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about our show, what has happened in the past, and all of the plot lines and some of the characters, and I'm going to get you fully caught up. We're going to take our time with this one, and by the end of this video, you will be more or less caught up so that you can jump in on the most recent episode. You don't need to start all the way back to our bad audio quality, bad video quality, bad general quality days. You can hop right into the HD audio, and still mediocre quality, but that's sort of our issue and not necessarily anything to do with the tech. So, welcome to a critically stupid guide to our own show, because we haven't been doing a very good job. Before I introduce you to the cast and talk about who we are, I want to talk about what we are. We are Critically Stupid, a Dungeons & Dragons real play podcast. That means that we actually play Dungeons & Dragons in the episodes that you, the audience, listen to. If you don't know what Dungeons & Dragons is, you're probably lost as hell, but I love having you here anyway. Stick around. It does get funny eventually. That's what we are. Who are we? Sounds like it's time to play a game of Meet the Stupids. Number 1, Arnold Stevenson. Arnold is a bard. He is very charismatic, a jack of all trades. He is everybody's best friend, the most eager boy you've ever met in your life, and he canonically has a tattoo of every friend he's ever had, which I'm going to tell you is a lot. Next up, we've got my girl Meliora, Mel for short. She's a ranger. She is a proud wolf mom to Joshua Patrick, Josh Pat, J. Peasy. She is my most active murder hobo of the group. She's very defensive, very prickly, but deep down, she does have a heart of gold, so you can mess with her friends at your peril. I would not recommend it, because I, for a fact, know she's got a +7 to hit with that bow. Next up, we've got Tess Tickles. I did not choose that name, she did. Tess is a druid. She is not from our plane. She is from the Fae plane and therefore has a very limited understanding of social etiquette and norms. She spends most of her time in her wild shape, which is a cow, and she's really, well, it's tough to tell. It's tough to say why she's here, but we love having her here anyway. Next up, we've got my man Gareth. Gareth is a rogue. Gareth is illiterate. Gareth was kicked out of his village for reasons that we have yet to quite get into. Gareth is also running the group-owned Troll Skull Tavern. The group owns a bar. It's called Troll Skull Tavern. Every now and then you'll hear us reference it or talk about Troll Skull Manor. They are the same thing. And then, of course, last and least, you've got Alex the DM. I hear that guy sucks. So that's who we are. Let's talk about what we're playing. We are playing a story called Waterdeep Dragon Heist. It is a officially licensed Dungeons & Dragons module. I did not write this. I don't hold any claim to this. If you've got a problem with the story, that's my fault. If you don't have a problem with the story and you like what you've been hearing, then you can thank Wizards of the Coast for that. I didn't write this. Waterdeep Dragon Heist is a really great role-playing module. I picked it for that reason. It doesn't have as much of the classic crawling through rooms and bashing on monsters vibe that you've seen maybe in other campaigns. It's a lot more character-focused, opportunities for growth and change and betrayal and redemption, and it's a damn shame that you're listening to this show and not a better one. Okay, now it's time to start talking storylines. Grab a fresh beverage. This is where it starts to get a little hairy. Essentially, Waterdeep Dragon Heist and the game that we are playing follows 3 storylines. Number 1, the race for 500,000 gold dragons. Gold dragons are the gold coins of Waterdeep. They're very valuable. Number 2, a gang war spilling blood onto the streets between 2 major underground factions of the city. Number 3, a noble called Rainier Neverember and his father's crumbling empire. This is important, really quick. Sometime before the events of our episode 1, The open lord of Waterdeep, Dagult Neverember, stole 500,000 gold dragons and hid them under the city of Waterdeep in a hidden vault somewhere in the city. We're gonna blaze through these real quick, so if you need to pause the video, please do. At the end of these storylines, there's a longer scene where you can pause it. I'll give you the opportunity, and you can look at the screen at your leisure. So, Season 1, Episode 1, the players saw a bloody clash in the streets between two members of the city's underground faction. That's the city of Waterdeep, and the two factions were the Xanathar Guild and the Zhentarim. It is truly unfortunate that these two factions sound almost identical because they are very important and come up often. So one starts with an X, one starts with a Z. Following that same gang war storyline, in the second episode, a messed up kidnapping by the Zhentarim was ambushed by the Xanathar Guild, who stole who they thought was a young man named Rainier Neverember, but turned out to be a red-headed buffoon named Floon. So, the Zhentarim kidnapped Floon, thinking it was Rainier Neverember, and the Xanathar ambushed that ambush, essentially, and took Floon into the sewers. Also in Episode 2, a half-orc wizard belonging to the Xanathar Guild was beating up Floon, who they thought was Rainier Neverember, and screaming, "Where is the stone?" Some episodes later, the main characters, the PCs, the Ghost Mafia, as they will soon come to call themselves, were snatched out of their sleep by the city watch, thrown into an interrogation cell, and asked a bunch of questions by a city guard captain about the sewers, the bodies, and a certain gemstone. Trying to get more information about this growing gang war in the understreets of Waterdeep, the players interrupt a group of Xanathar thugs trying to spellcast their way onto a Zhentarim ship. While messing around with the Xanathar group trying to spellcast their way onto the Zhentarim ship, the players encounter a creature called a Nimblewright. It is a creature of ticking cogs and bone that is shaped like a humanoid, but is distinctly inhuman. After they got off the ship successfully, learned a little bit of information about these underground factions, the street in front of the tavern that they had just been swindled into buying exploded, killing about half a dozen people. Witnesses in the street who lived say they saw a man in black looting the fallen corpses who turned out to be fallen Zhentarim and Xanathar. So both of these two factions dead at once, and then a man in black looted the bodies and fled. Following this storyline, the players break into a morgue trying to use a Speak with the Dead spell to get a little bit more information about this explosion, and they find a group of Zhentarim agents standing over the fallen forms of several Xanathar thugs who have been recently murdered. I snuck this one in on the slide, but at a party, a drunk Rainier Neverember pulls Gareth aside and tells him that one of his father's prized taverns has been bought out from under him, threatening his inheritance left to him by his father. Now, Rainier Neverember's last name might remind you of another Neverember that you heard about in this slide. Rainier Neverember is Dagult Neverember's son. So, the same person who embezzled 500,000 gold dragons and hid them in the city has a son named Rainier Neverember. That's important. Don't forget it. So, the players learn that the man in black, who is now known as Urstel Floxen, is in a Lady Growlhund's house, where he reveals he's been living sponsored by this noblewoman. He is a Zhentarim agent who has been paid by her to find the stone, which is the key to the same vault that Dagult Neverember hid these 500,000 gold dragons. In that same episode, we learned that Lady Yala Growlhund double-crossed the Zhentarim, sent a Nimblewright to blow up the street, killing several of the Zhentarim agents, and steal the stone. At the midpoint of Season 2, Episode 12, about 8 episodes from when you're gonna watch this, these two quests are now linked: the race for 500,000 gold dragons and the gang war bubbling up into the streets. We learned that the Zhentarim side of this gang war has been allying themselves with the nobility, trying to buy their way into information, whereas the Xanathar side of the underground gang factions has been happily murdering people for the last 3 weeks, trying to find out the exact same information. Both sides are racing for the stone, which is the key to a vault holding 500,000 gold coins. This is the basis of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. You thought we were done, didn't you? No, we are not. At Lady Yala Growlhund's manor, we hear her husband start talking about what he thinks isn't actually a stone, but something called the Stone of Galore, which, yes, I understand is still a stone, but I was role-playing in the moment and I was very stressed for time. Yala Growlhund's Nimblewright gets a hold of the stone. It explodes in a boiling vat of seawater and screams, "Return me to my home," in a distinctly otherworldly voice, before breaking a window and fleeing into the night. Arand Growlhund starts talking about that he's pretty sure Galore of the Stone of Galore isn't a what, but a who. And then Urstel Floxen, the Zhentarim agent who looted the dead bodies and double-crossed Jarl Gralhund, stabs him about 8.5 seconds later. Did he stab him because he was talking about something important? Probably. Did I insinuate that in the moment very clearly? No, I did not. Tracing both of these quests at the same time, the players went looking for the missing Nimblewright. Why? Because the missing Nimblewright had the Stone of Galore, which was, let me hear it, the key to the vault of a 500,000 gold dragons hidden somewhere in the city of Waterdeep. Again, that is the major through line of Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Everybody is racing for the Stone of Galore, which is the key to the vault holding 500,000 gold coins in the city of Waterdeep. Hunting for this missing Nimblewright in the dock ward, the players heard Rainier Neverember, Dagult Neverember's son, knocking door to door, also looking for the stone. Now, why is the son of the disgraced former Open Lord of Waterdeep looking for 500,000 gold coins when he's got a very comfortable family inheritance left to him? I don't know. Let's find out together. All right, this one's a little bit more recent. Episode 19, the players make a pact with Rainier Neverember to work together to find the stone and dick over Ursel Floxen, who is a member of the Zhentarim, to find it together. This is it. This is the big pause point. If you are confused as to the timeline so far, pause the screen, take a look at this, read over what we've got so far. I'll wait. Don't worry. Are you back? Great. Here we go. Subplots and et ceteras. You thought we were done, didn't you? Cheeky. All right, you've heard me talk about Floon a little bit. Here he is, Floon Blagmar. Rescued from the sewers after the Xanathar Guild kidnapped him from the Zhentarim thinking he was Rainier Neverember. Say that 5 times fast. He currently works as Troll Skull Tavern as a bartender. He always brings the vibes, and he's always in the background. You'll hear me talk about Dustin Ego and Evan Stokesworth. Those are 2 of the neighborhood kids who get into scraps around Troll Skull Tavern. Dustin Ego and Evan Stokesworth are named after 2 of our community names. If you would like to end up as a named character on Critically Stupid, you can tweet us at CritStupid or hit us up on any of our social platforms. Let us know what you think of the show, and you can end up as a character in the show, like Dustin and Evan and some of the other characters we've got sprinkled in there. It's a cool way to interact with us and get your name in a show, which is kind of fun for people. Jessica Apostrophe. One of the best cat burglars in the city despite her clumsiness. She is Gareth's rival, though she might not know it yet. Peter and Clarence, my LGBTQIQ romance from the grave. They entered the story in the bottom of Waterdeep's harbor in a sort of Subnautica, deep monsters and Lovecraftian nightmares subplot that I was weaving. They do eat people. That's important to note, but they are adorable while they do it. Greg the Lobster, also from the Fae Plane, which as you might remember is where Tess Tickles is from. Member of the Junior Shellfish Detective Agency, he's carrying his card, and he does happen to know more about the Stone of Galore and its origins than he's letting on. If you've been looking at your phone for a little bit, maybe you've been tired of my voice, listen up, this is the important one. If you take nothing else from this Tale Till Now episode, this is the one thing you're going to want to take home with you. A race for something called the Stone of Galore, which is the key to 500,000 gold dragons in the city. A gang war between the Xanathar Guild and the Zhentarim spilling blood into the city and bodies in the alleyways. An otherworldly menace that smells a little bit like seawater and ruin. These are the 3 main subplots that I have working in this show. If you listen to our episodes starting with the next one, knowing these 3 bullet points will take you further than listening to almost our entire backlog. Now, if you want to listen to our backlog, you can. There's some really great stuff back there. I will be the first to admit that our early episodes have some pretty bad audio and video quality. We were still learning how to be a show. We're better at it now, still getting better, I'm going to be real. But if you want to go back and listen to our earlier stuff, all of this information is in there. Again, it's very subtle and oftentimes hard to catch because I was so focused on the micro details of showing that I didn't bother with the macro details of storytelling. So, you've got my apologies for that. I'm sorry I made it so complicated. If you are an old fan, I hope this helped. If you are a new fan, welcome to the show, and I'm really excited to get to know you, and I think we've got a lot of great story coming up ahead of us. That's it. Proud of you for making it all the way. I'm sure it was boring there in the middle. I don't like talking this much in one stretch, so I'm going to stop. I sincerely hope our next episode will be available the next Friday after this airs. I'm going to work my hardest to get it out to you. Again, I've been a little bit busy, as you can see from the disarray behind me, but thank you for being here. I love you, and you take it squeezy out there, all right?